Welcome back to Bexhill West. I'm James. So it's a lovely day today, glorious sunny Sussex. So today I thought I'd come and work outside in nature, and unfortunately nature didn't get the memo, so it's a little bit noisy. But anyway, what I'm working on today is one of the middle boards for my Bexhill West project. Now I've got an ambition, and by the end of this summer I'd like to have made significant progress with pushing the track work from the station towards Sidley, and this is central to it. So before I continue, what I'll do is I'll cut to the track plan, explain what this board is, where it goes, and its relevance to the wider project. So here's the track plan with the station on the right and the tracks leading off to Sidley on the left. The bit we're interested in today is this centre section by the signal box. Now if I zoom in, you can see the area that we're focusing on a little bit more clearly, and you should just be able to make out the little grey box which represents the footprint of that particular baseboard. Now for the purposes of constructing this length of track, I'm only going to be building half of the baseboard, which will be about 300mm or a foot wide, and the extra will be added on at a later stage. So hopefully that will give you an idea of the geography of the element that we're working. So then I'm hoping that all made a lot of sense. So what we've got here then is the central section that's going to have the track on the top, and this will be extended out. And the curved side that I showed you on the plan, this will be laminated in one long section which will actually cover 3 boards, and I'll laminate that curve so it's nice and strong and then sort of split it up later. This board has been constructed so that I can stick ends on, and these will receive the fascia, so this will be out here somewhere, and this has a tapering profile because this is all effectively on an embankment. But by keeping this board small, it's manageable, I can work on the track, I've not got to lean over things, and then the scenic side will add on later. And as I say, I've designed this to enable me to do so, and the whole thing end up being nice and strong. Now I will mention this is made out of a 18mm, that's right, 18mm ply. Is massively strong, and the reason for that is I don't want this to move at all. This is going to have lots of track work on, lots of complicated track work, and I want this to be as stable as possible. So the plywood is all on, the framework is 12mm top, the framework is all 18mm, and that's been sealed inside and out, and hopefully will be very stable. So let's get on and have a look at how we're going to lay the track bed. Now there are multiple schools of thought when it comes to hand building fine scale track work. One of which is to build on paper templates. So here the timbers have been stuck down onto a piece of tracing paper over a paper template, and the track work built up on top of that. Now the idea with this is you've got a small piece, you can work on a bench, it's easy to move and sort of get to. And then the idea is you'd build all of the complex pieces, such as the turnouts, separately, and then mount them on the baseboard when you're ready. In my case here, because I've got 5 turnouts and a single slip, so effectively 7 turnouts, what I want to do is build directly onto the baseboard. That's going to help me get all of the lines sort of sighted in nicely. Additionally, the main lines taper off with a very gentle curve here, and I want to set all of that up on the board itself. And so to help me do that, I've engraved my templates onto the cork base that I'm going to use as the underlay. So the first stage will be to fit these panels on this board, and then the track work can be built up on top of these. So I've got the first 2 pieces of cork stuck down here, and they're down nice and firm, and I'm very pleased with those. The next thing to be thinking about is how the timbering or the sleeper work will be done. And so for that I've laser cut the timbering from the same drawing. Now this was all laid out in template, and I've laser cut those so that they can glue on directly above the template. So you get the idea, it will be something like that. And these align with the tracks. Now what I've done, there's an extra wide margin on here, a little bit wasteful of plywood, but that's to line up with this edge of the board. So hopefully by laying these templates on top of the cork as I lay it, if the cork goes slightly wonky, I can line everything up and keep everything in check. So that's the idea. So I'm going to continue fixing the cork down, temporarily laying these timbering fretworks on top. We'll hopefully get the board finished off, and that should be a fairly quick way of getting all the track bed down and all the timbering ready to build the track work on top of it. Okay, so I'll carry on and we'll come back and talk a little bit more about these in a little while. So the next stage of this process is going to be to glue this down with some PVA glue. So let's crack on with that. Now then, at this stage that's all lined up nicely. What we need to do is make sure that's firmly held down, and for that I would recommend a cannonball. If you haven't got a cannonball, you could use a long weight. So the next task, this is all stuck down, is to remove the timbering from the remaining fretwork. I've already done the outer here and here, and it's just simply a case of running a knife through these little tags where it's still joined on. So the timbering here is all cut out, it's looking quite good. You can see I've already stained some of it. So what I'm doing to stain it, I'm using Jacobean dark oak wood dye and simply just rubbing that in. Now this will take several coats to build up the depth of colour that I'm after, so I'm not going to make you sit through all of this, but that's literally all I'm doing, is just wiping some wood stain on. And you can maybe see the contrast between the first coat, and this has had 4 or 5 coats just here. So with the sleep ring all down and stained more or less to my satisfaction, the next job obviously is to fit some running rails, and for that I'm using code 75 bullhead track and Exactoscale chairs, which I bought from the Scale 4 Society stores. So these just need to be kind of glued on more or less like that. Now what I've got here is some gauges that we're going to use to help us to get this all neatly gauged in. I'm going to save that for my next video. I'm aware this video is getting on a bit now, so we'll look at that, and we will look at the turnouts in greater detail I think next time. But for now I'll just show you briefly what the process is. So I've got the chairs, they're all arranged with the, I'm not sure if the camera will pick this up, but the little keys are all facing in the correct direction, and that's going to drop on. I will hold it to gauge with these tools, and we'll fix it down with some butadiene, which is going to melt the plastic of the chair, and that's going to grip into the grain of the timber. So before I wrap today's video up, I'd like to speak a little bit about my last video, which featured the cardboard carriages. Now that video is done amazingly, and at the time of posting this it's had, I think, close to 11,000 views, which is quite a surprise. So it would have been nice to follow on with a sort of a part 2 of that, but unfortunately sort of the making of this video has sort of got in the way, so I will return to that subject probably in my next video. But as a little teaser, I've been doing some development work on that, and cardboard roofs, I didn't think it was going to work, but it does. Now this was the very first prototype I made off of a very crude tool just to prove it would work, and it did, and I've now made really quite a nice tool, but that's on my workbench at home. So when I'm sort of at home I should pick that up, and the next time we're here in the studio I'll show you all of that, and I'll show you some of the other development work I've done with those coaches. I've even done some sort of curved sides with the tumble home or the turn under on, and they've come out brilliantly too. I've done some 6-wheeled Midland Clayton, I think they are, carriages. They look really good. Anyway, that's where we've got to today. I've got a few timbers that have fallen off that I need to stick on, and I will carry on between now and when I next see you, getting all of the plain track elements in place. And the subject of the next video with this will be the turnouts, and I'll explain how I'm going to do those. Now I will be using the Exactoscale chairs for much of it, but components like the crossing V's, I've got one here, where does that go? That'll go somewhere like that. These I'm going to fix down in a slightly different way so they don't move, and it's hopefully a bit more reliable. So anyway, we'll come back to that next time in the cardboard carriages. I'm not sure which order I'll do those videos in, or maybe next time will be an odds and ends video where I wrap it all into one. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed seeing how I've, again it's another experiment, put this track bed together. Next time we'll see it, and I'll show some camera runs panning down the length of it, and the curves on here really are spectacular. They are all exactly to scale and how it should have been, so I'm really pleased with how this has turned out. So until next time, thank you all very much indeed for watching, and thank you to the, I think, over 200 new subscribers who jumped on board following my last video. It's really very much appreciated. So thank you all, and I'll see you soon. Cheerio.